are so happy to be in this story.
You're in my story because one time you told me about how you were quitting Facebook, and that was something that was very interesting to me, and because that was something that you said you struggled with, and that was something that you were saying that you were spending a lot of time with. And what I'm talking about is my mom's somewhat of an attention span towards using apps like Facebook. And I know that from other experiences that she's had with things like Candy Crush or games, that there are a lot of addictive qualities to those games and social media applications, and that's what I want to talk about. So something that also I experienced on my own was quitting Instagram too. I was quitting for maybe like 1.5 years, and that's something that is maybe not so interesting to you, but maybe is interesting to other people my age, because mostly everybody, and I get a lot of questions about what is your Instagram. You don't have an Instagram, but I think it's something that is really important to look into as to why I'm not using something like that. And I think that's something a lot of other people should realize is purposefully meant to be addictive towards you. So what I wanted to talk about was how these applications, both the games and the social medias, have been designed specifically to keep you addicted to them, even though you might not know how far it goes. So an interesting question is to think about maybe like, what is the 5 last TikToks that you've seen? And that's a very hard question to answer, because you can see very fast that you don't remember anything about what the last 5 videos were, because of how quickly it is able to feed you multiple amounts of information. And what these types of information posts and all these gamings, and what they're trying to do is to activate dopamine in your brain. And that's why these games and social media applications make it very rewarding to your brain, and that's what makes you stay on them a lot of the time. And that is something that I think a lot of people are struggling with right now, because it's something that specifically for video gaming, over 60 million people were suffering with since 2021. So that was something actually such recently that we're seeing a lot more people suffering with. And I think that it was interesting that how my mother mentioned that she was quitting, because it shows us that it can go between all the age ranges, even though most of the time you're thinking that mostly it is just kids or mostly just teenagers that are getting addicted. Even though that is where it starts, it can go to a very far range. So I think that's something very interesting that maybe not a lot of people will hear or notice about. And that's something that a lot of people are afraid to speak about, because they're kind of afraid of saying like that I'm addicted to these kind of things. So there was something that I did with my research, and it was something about how there is an association between the dopamine that gets released from your brain to the applications that are being released. And it's been proven through like the way that they produce these games that this is by design. They are addictive by design, and they are meant to keep you tracked. They're tracking you about how much you use these certain apps, how long you stay on certain pages or on certain applications. Certain parts of the game they purposefully make for you to stay connected with that. And they don't want you to leave that page, because that's how they keep their connection, that's how they keep their basis, and that's how they mostly are making money off you. So something that I think that is important to realize is when other people maybe around you are experiencing this kind of problem. So something too that came out in 2018 that I think was important to recognize too was from the World Health Organization. You know, the same ones that we were talking about COVID, they were mainly the ones giving us the information about it. They, in 2018, they said that video game addiction was a real disease actually. So it wasn't until 2018 that these kind of problems problems were actually able to be diagnosed, and actually they were able to be billed for these kind of things. Like they were able to bill insurances now and be able to prescribe it as like a disease. So I think that's something that is quite interesting, and I think that it's something that we can recognize fall into each other. So
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, that's neat.
no, that was good.